Hi, Verbling. My name's Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're talking about the Wild West. We're going to be reading about one of my favorite characters in the Wild West and watching a trailer for the movie. I put the notes in the chat box for you guys. And I'll put my Facebook name in the chat box as well. If anyone wants to friend me on Facebook, I update about what classes I have coming up, and I take suggestions for classes. So if you guys have any ideas or have something that you would really like to learn, let me know on Facebook, and I will plan a class for you. Or if you'd like private lessons, you're also welcome to look at my schedule on my profile on Verbling and plan a class with me. Send me a message. All right, so as soon as we have a couple students, we'll begin. And I'll screen share the notes for anyone who's interested. So we're going to start with some conversation. Let me make sure the class started properly. We're going to start with some conversation today about movies and any information you guys might know about the Old West or the Wild West. We'll be learning some interesting vocabulary as well. We have a couple fun phrasal verbs in the story we're going to be reading today, as well as some words of the Wild West, some vocabulary that's distinct to that period. While I'm waiting for some students, I guess I will play the trailer to the movie, which might give away parts of our story, but it's really fun to watch. All right. So that was the trailer for the movie and the story that we're going to be reading about today. It's one of my favorite Wild West movies, and I think my other favorite is Tombstone, another really good movie, and set in my native Arizona. And I'll put that in the chat box for you. It's called Tombstone. Okay, so we're going to start reading the story, and we'll get some discussion going in a little while, hopefully. So I'll begin with the early years. Considered one of the greatest hustlers of the American West, Butch Cassidy was born George Leroy Parker on April 13th, 1866, in Beaver, Utah. The oldest of 13 children in a poor Mormon family, Parker was a teenager when he left home in the hopes of carving out a better, more prosperous life than what his parents had been able to provide. He found work on several different ranches and eventually befriended a rancher named Mike Cassidy, who'd had a reputation for stealing cattle and horses. Young Parker admired the elder Cassidy and, wanting to emulate his friend and not disrespect his family, changed his name to Butch Cassidy. So that's the beginning of our story. Akka, welcome to class.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
It's lonely in here today.
Oh, I just came back, so.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Do you know anything about the Wild West yet?
Yeah, kind of gold rush, outlaws, cowboy, yeah.
Yeah, kind of an interesting
hmm
period in time for the US. Have you
hmm
ever watched a movie about the Wild West?
Probably, but I forgot the time we watched the movie. Yeah.
Most of them are pretty old now, but some are
hmm
still pretty good.
Nice.
All right. So today we're talking a little bit about a particular character in the Wild West, and I played the trailer for the movie, which is really good.
hmm
I'll put the YouTube link in the chat box for anyone who wants to rewatch it or if you did not get a chance to see it. And did you catch the beginning of the story, the early years that I just read?
I think I've read this article before
Have you?
about it.
What do you
Yeah,
remember about it?
Butch Cassidy, kind of the story of the outlaw.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
what do you remember about this story?
I almost forgot his name and his outlaw or something like that.
Yeah. He's Butch Cassidy and he was an outlaw for many years.
And probably he is a kind of how can I say it? Hero.
Yeah, kind of an
Hero. Yeah.
infamous hero.
Yes. hmm
Not exactly a good guy, but not a villain either.
Right. Right.
All right. So, in the early life, we had some vocabulary that you might have already seen, but let's check if you remember it.
hmm Okay.
Carving out a better life from the last sentence in the first paragraph. Do you remember what that phrase means? He had hopes of carving out a better life.
Carving maybe the how can I say producing out or dig out or
Yeah,
what?
like creating or digging
Mhm.
out
Yeah.
a better life for himself.
Mhm.
And what about hustler? He's a great hustler. What is a hustler?
I think hustler is a gambler who is who are wandering around the city or something.
Something like that. Sometimes a
Mhm.
hustler is a gambler.
Mhm.
And usually a hustler is a term for a person that is kind of a cheater, like
Mhm.
someone who tricks you. So it could be a gambler who's a very tricky person and maybe he
Mhm.
tricks you into making a bad bet. Or it could be someone who sells a product that isn't what it says it should be.
Mhm.
Someone who tricks you in some way.
Kind of con artist.
Yeah, right. A con
Okay.
artist.
Mhm.
Exactly. Would you like to read the first paragraph in Young Outlaw?
Okay. A young outlaw, by all account, Cassidy was a charming thief who was well liked and who never, it's believed, killed anyone. His first taste of major robbery came in June 1889, when he and three other cowboys made off with more than $20,000 from the San Miguel Valley Bank in Telluride, Colorado.
Awesome. Thank you. So 20,000 today doesn't seem like that much, but in 1889, it was actually a lot of money, a ton of
Mhm.
money. So that's a pretty big bank robbery. I'll read the next two short paragraphs for us. Do you have any questions on that paragraph?
No.
Okay, good. So after purchasing a ranch of his own in DuBois, Wyoming in 1890, Cassidy continued to rustle cattle and horses. In 1894, the law caught up to him, and he was jailed for 2 years for the crime. Despite his criminal background, Cassidy had a reputation for keeping his word. As one story goes, on the night before he was to begin his sentence, Cassidy asked to be released, promising he'd return to jail the following day. Authorities took him at his word and let him go, and Cassidy returned to them the following morning. All right.
Mhm.
Any questions from those?
What is for keeping his word?
Good question. Keeping his word. That's like keeping a promise. If you
Uh-huh.
if you give your word, it's some kind of sacred promise. Like not just any promise, but
Mhm.
you're staking your reputation and your personhood on this promise. So it's like a very sacred, sincere promise.
Mhm. I see.
All right. And will you read the next paragraph?
Okay. Upon his full release in 1896, Cassidy resumed his life as a criminal. With several other well-known outlaws, including Harry Rangappa, aka the Sundance Kid, William Ellsworth Lay, Elzie Lay, Ben Kilpatrick, the Tall Taxman, and Harvey Logan, Kid Curry, a group known as the Wild Bunch. Cassidy embarked on what is considered the longest stretch of successful train and bank robberies in American history.
Awesome. That paragraph continues, but we'll stop there for a second
Mhm.
because I think one of my favorite parts of these Wild West stories is
Mhm.
how everyone has a very cool nickname.
Mhm.
They all have like the real name is Harry Longabout, but his nickname is the Sundance Kid, and I think that's great. Have you
Mhm.
ever had a nickname like that, Aka?
For rappers or yeah. rapper, some rock artist, or like this kind of nickname.
Huh?
Especially rappers.
Oh, rappers. Yeah,
Rappers.
rappers sometimes have nicknames like that. Yeah.
And what is LZ Lay?
Elsie
And
Lay is just his nickname because his name is
ah,
Ellsworth
I see.
Lay. So they call him Elsie Lay because William Ellsworth Lay is
Mhm.
a very wordy name. It's very long. So Elsie Lay is much cuter, I think.
Mhm. Uh, Paul Taxman means was he a taxman before?
The Texan?
Ah,
Tall Texan?
Texan. Sorry, sorry, Texan, not taxman. Texan means Texas people.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. A person from Texas.
Mhm.
Tall Texan.
And
Yep.
Kit curry. Curry is like an Indian food, but I don't know what.
It is. It is an Indian food. And how he got that nickname, I'm not really sure because it would be a funny one for him to have
I
because
see.
it's an Indian food. As far as I know, that's all it means. It doesn't mean anything else.
I see.
Um,
Okay. Hmm.
could be like a last name that he took from
Hmm.
someone. Not
Hmm.
really sure. But I love these nicknames. Have you ever had a nickname like that? Some kind of nickname that doesn't have much to do with your original name?
Yeah, kind of. My name here is AKA Ken, so it's kind of nickname also known as.
Is it very different from your original birth given name?
Yes, because my real name, is a bit difficult for pronounce some foreign people, so I changed my name on the
Ah,
internet.
good
Yeah.
idea. I myself,
So
I
yeah,
struggle frequently with pronunciation of names.
yeah. So Ken is both popular in Japanese and English name, so I decided Ken. But after the kind of Google Hangout updated the system, my Ken part was not shown. Is not shown now. So yeah, sometimes it causes confusion, but anyway.
Ah, yeah. Every once in a while, I'll have a student come on and their name doesn't show properly, and so I'm like calling them, and they don't know that I'm calling them because I'm not using the right name they're expecting to hear.
Mhm.
Difficult. But I have a pretty funny thing I'd like to show you. I found
Mhm.
this right before class, and it's a generator, a cowboy name generator.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to
I
put it
see.
in the chat box for you.
Mhm.
And my cowboy name generator is Penny the Loner Carol.
Oh.
So I thought that was pretty funny. Penny the Loner Carol. Have
Mhm.
you ever heard someone called a loner before?
No, what does it mean, loner?
A loner means someone who is alone frequently. So someone who
Uh-huh.
doesn't have friends, someone who's very um, maybe
Mhm.
shy or not really friendly. Could be someone who's just mean.
Mhm.
So that way
I
they don't
see.
have any friends. So that's my cowboy name is
Mhm.
Penny the Loner Carol.
Mhm. My name is Jockey. What does
What
it mean?
what is
Jo
it?
uh, Jockey. Jenny the
How,
Jenny
how
the
do you spell
Hunter
it?
Adams. Okay.
Jenny?
Yeah, and two names appears in after I click this link. One name is Jockey and other is Jenny the Hunter Adams.
Oh, I see. So Jerky or Jenny the Hunter Adams.
Mhm.
Interesting. Oh, Ginny. Okay. So I think
Jenny, yeah.
I think Jerky is a cuter nickname because jerky
Mhm.
is that kind of meat that cowboys
Mhm.
eat. It's dried, so it's like
Yeah.
beef that's been dried for a long
Mhm.
time. That's
Beef
kind of
jerky.
funny.
Yeah, I like it.
So the first one was just jerky by itself.
Mhm.
All right. Jerky or Ginny the Hunter Adams. Very cute names. I thought that was a funny name generator. All right. So let's finish this article. On the next page, I'll read the first paragraph. Beginning with an August 1896 bank robbery in Montpelier, Idaho, in which the gang made off with more than $7,000. The group hit banks and trains in South Dakota, New Mexico, Nevada, and Wyoming. Between their robberies, the men hid out at the Hole-in-the-Wall Pass, located in Johnson County, Wyoming, where a number of outlaw gangs had their hideouts. All right. Any questions from vocabulary from that paragraph?
Hideout means the place people who can hide.
Yeah, like a place you go when you don't want anyone you know to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any hideouts when you just don't feel like talking to people?
A car?
Your
Inside a
car?
car. Yeah, it could be a hideout one thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Definitely could be. When I just don't want to talk to people, I usually go to a park if there is a park around, because that's a nice place. You can go read
Oh
and just
yeah.
kind of,
Right.
people don't bother me much.
Mhm.
So both are good hideouts.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Made of. I think yeah. I could understand this sentence. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Will you read the next two paragraphs for us? Actually, there was one word I wanted to go over that I think is in this paragraph. Yeah, made off with. Have you ever heard that phrasal verb before? Made off with.
No. Made of with.
What do you think it means based on the context in the sentence? What do you think made off with means?
Stole?
Yeah, exactly. Usually means to steal something. Similar to the other words we saw, like rustle cattle means to steal cattle, or a hustler is someone tricky. So this is another synonym for those things. Made off with is to steal. One more phrasal verb to add to the list. All right, will you read the next two paragraphs in this section for us? They're short.
Okay. With each new robbery, the bunch became better known and better liked by an American public eager to read about their exploits. Their robberies, too, became bigger. One of the large was $30,000 hauled from a train just outside Folsom, New Mexico. Never to stop the bunch, Union Pacific Railroad went so far as to propose to Cassidy a pardon in exchange for the promise of ending his robberies and coming to work for the company as an express guard.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So we have some great advanced vocabulary words in these two short paragraphs. The first one is exploit. What is an exploit?
You got to read about their, how can I say, their behavior or their crime or their story.
Yeah, their
Scandal?
actions. Yeah, so that would be like their actions. But an exploit comes from the word exploitative or exploiting. Have you heard the word exploiting before?
Yeah, I think so, but I forgot the meaning. Exploit.
It's similar to when someone is being used in a way. So if you're being used, it usually means it's an unfair situation for one party. So in this case, it's their action, their achievements, but it's also kind of giving this hint of that it was some kind of unfair situation that, they were robbing. It wasn't exactly like it was a fair, nice situation for all parties. All right. What about their haul? $70,000 haul.
in cash. So there
Uh-huh.
were no credit card at that time, so they have to, yeah, do
Yeah,
some,
so here
yeah.
it's cash, and
Mhm.
certainly $70,000 would make a lot. It would be heavy because you're right,
Mm,
no credit card. You have to
mhm,
carry all of that cash, which would probably be
mhm,
heavy. But a
mhm,
haul is some kind of big prize you get from, for them it was from their exploits, or it could
mhm,
be anything, something you earn usually, and it's like a big prize that you have, or your
mhm,
earnings is
mhm,
a
I see.
haul.
Mm.
Okay, and I thought there was one more word, but oh yeah, pardon. A pardon. What's a pardon?
Pardon, where, okay. Cassidy, a pardon in exchange for the promise of ending. Mm. I know this word as I beg your pardon.
Uh-huh.
So, to Cassidy's request or something?
Yeah, like a request. It's like, so in the phrase where you say, I beg your pardon,
Mm-hmm.
it means like, almost like, sorry. So I
Mm-hmm.
beg you to forgive me. I beg that you give me your forgiveness, or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And here it means the same. So he was in jail for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got out and continued robbing, and they were very successful. So this Pacific Union, or Union Pacific Railroad, said, hey, we will forgive all of your crimes if you stop now and come work for us. So it's kind of
Like
like a
computer
forgiveness.
hackers was hired by the virus company. Virus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just like that. All right. Any other questions before we move on?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. I'll read the next short section, On the Run.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, the Union Pacific turned to law enforcement to put a permanent end to the Wild Bunch. To hunt Cassidy and the group down, the company hired famed Pinkerton National Detective Agency, which pushed Cassidy and the Sundance Kid into South America. As the story goes, the pair continued to rob trains and banks in South America. The conventional account says the pair lost their lives in a shootout with soldiers in southern Bolivia on November 3rd, 1908. All right. Any questions from this section?
Maybe conventional account means it is generally said.
Yeah, the conventional would be something like the traditional explanation
Mhm.
for their life or death in this case.
Mhm. But maybe it has not confirmed,
Right, yeah, it's not
like the
exactly
reason. Mhm.
confirmed, but people say that that's what happened to them.
Okay. Mhm.
All right. And will you read the first paragraph in the part that says death and controversy?
Okay. But the truth about their end has never been fully settled. Some historical evidence suggests that Cassidy faked his death and returned to the United States with a new name, William T. Phillips. Back in his home country, Cassidy lived another 3 decades, making a living as a machinist before passing away from cancer in Spokane, Washington in 1937.
Thank you very much. Any questions from that section?
Mm, what truth about the end never fully established? Yes. I see. So some evidence suggests Cassidy returned to the United States. Uh,
Yeah, so
he
it's
changed his identity.
possible.
Mhm.
It's possible that he did return under a new name.
Mhm. Yeah, at that time, kind of law and order is not so strict like nowadays. And
Yeah.
there's no social media or not of not so many picture of him probably.
Yeah,
Mm.
now it would be impossible because everything, there's an iPhone everywhere to take
Yeah.
pictures or whatever. So today, that kind of thing would never happen. But in that time, it was kind of you could mysteriously do things. You still
Mm.
had a little room for secrets, not like today.
Mm.
There's really no room
Right.
for secrets.
And living as a machinist. Machinist is a mechanics.
Yeah, a mechanic, something like that. A machinist might be someone who works on cars, or it might be someone who works on other kinds of machines, like
Mm-hmm.
um, printers or some kind of mechanical thing that is not a car. It's kind of a
Mm.
general term.
Mm-hmm. I see.
All right, and I'll read the last paragraph for us. The man known as Phillips helped fuel speculation with a book he wrote in the 1920s called The Invincible Bandit: The Story of Butch Cassidy, which included details perhaps only Cassidy might have known. While the debate lingers over when and where Cassidy truly died, there's little argument that he's considered one of the most revered outlaws to come out of the American West. His life and relationship with Sundance was immortalized in the 1969 Oscar-winning movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, starring Paul Newman, Cassidy, and Robert Redford, Sundance. Okay, so what do you think happened? If you had to take a guess, do you think this guy named Phillips is the real Butch Cassidy, or do you think he died in Bolivia?
I don't know. But yeah, if he could return to the United States, that's more interesting for the movie story
True.
for the movie. And
Yeah.
I feel some people like this kind of legendary thing. Like Jim Morrison is still alive,
Yeah,
or yeah,
exactly. People like these mysteries. Even there are some people who still say that Michael Jackson faked his
yeah,
death or
or
Elvis
Elvis.
Presley was an alien or whatever. Lots of um, funny explanations for things. Do
Mhm.
you generally believe these kinds of ideas, or do you think that the traditional, conventional explanation is a little more plausible?
Hmm. I don't know, but maybe as I said, this kind of thing, fake identities, was much more easier at that time than now. Now
Mm-hmm.
we our identity is strictly controlled by the authorities. So
Yeah.
ID card or passport or blah blah blah, blah. And a lot of media or uh, a lot of picture or information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't get away with anything today.
Mm,
Everything is tightly controlled. So
mm,
that might be good, but in some cases we might lose out on some of these interesting stories and mysteries.
right. So,
Do you have any vocabulary questions from the last page or from the
mhm.
last paragraph?
But you can see which included juice. Uh, how Butch Cassidy sounds like. Uh,
Butch.
Butch means
So,
butcher, you see?
I'm sorry, what?
Butcher's Butch.
Like a butcher would be someone who slaughters cows, but butch is actually just a common name or nickname sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more common in the past, in the
Mm-hmm.
1800s, but it's not as common now. But it's just a name, butch.
Not so scary, that means.
Oh, wait, what? So scary?
Uh, yeah, so I connect butch. The sound of butch is butcher. So
Ah,
it's
yes.
a kind of wild West type scary name, but it's
Yeah,
not.
I could totally see that. It sounds kind of like it would be a sinister name, kind of a menacing name.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Cassidy would be accent on the first syllable. Butch Cassidy.
Mhm.
All right. What about the word linger? In the third line of the last paragraph, it says, while the debate lingers over when and where Cassidy truly died. What does linger mean?
Linger means hang or hold or something. Probably.
Yeah, to hang around or
Mhm.
get stuck on something.
Mhm.
All right. What
So
about Oh, go ahead.
maybe still debate is still going on.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're saying that it's lingering over when and where he died. So there's no argument that he was a very famous character,
Mhm.
but there's still argument about when and where his story ends.
Mhm. Right, yes.
What about revered outlaw? What are we saying when we call him a revered outlaw?
Weird. Kind of monumental.
Yeah, monumental might be a good synonym for that. Definitely something that's treated as really
Mhm.
important or almost sacred.
Mm.
And the last advanced vocabulary word I'd like to go over is immortalized.
Uh,
Immortalized.
kind of don't die, won't die.
Yeah. So they immortalized his life with this movie. So they
Mhm.
made his story kind of everlasting, and
Mhm.
you can't kill it now because it's a famous movie.
Mhm.
All right. So that's the end of our story here. And let's see. Hmm. Is there anything else that you'd like to go over today? Since I guess this was not a very popular topic. I'm really interested in this kind of
Mhm.
Wild West history,
Mhm.
but I guess it wasn't very popular. So, is there anything else that you'd like to go over today before we finish class up?
Kind of this kind of anti-hero type is still, popular, somewhat popular. Kind
It's
of
what?
anti-hero, how can I say? He's a
Um,
hero, but his action itself considered as a crime,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. So he was a criminal, but
Mhm.
he's in this interesting place where he was a criminal, but everyone loved
Yeah.
to hear about what he was doing.
So
What do you think
still,
about him as a person?
I don't know because I don't know his personality, but some how can I say? Maybe he pa- uh, can attract people or can draw people's attention,
Mm-hmm.
probably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in this article, it says everyone really liked him, even though he was a criminal and
Mm.
he
Yeah.
probably did some pretty bad things.
Hmm.
Like in the article, it says that it's believed he never killed anybody, but I don't think I believe that.
Yeah, right.
Because I feel
So,
like he robbed so many times, it's
mm,
impossible to do that without committing some pretty
right.
nasty crimes.
So, yeah, right. So, legend was made up, always made up. So, kind of, in accordance with people's preference, or you know, people want to know what they want to know. So, yeah, I
You're
heard,
you're just right.
yeah, I heard, I took, attended a kind of the seminar or a speech of pop cultures. The professor who studied American pop culture, and from America, and he's explained how can I say it, early 20th centuries. That's at almost the end of Victorian era. So everything should be clean and kind of neat. I mean, so at that time, Shakespeare introduced America, but they cut a lot of part of the Shakespeare's story because actual Shakespeare's story has a lot of kind of a lot of different elements, but in accordance with the censorship at that time, they cut. And same thing happens. Do you know the Japanese monster called Godzilla?
No, what is it?
Actually, Godzilla appeared in Japan for the American nuclear, how can I say, experiment on South Pacific Ocean. At that time, radiation spread this area. So Godzilla was born because of that. So
Wow.
the kind of whale, maybe whale and gorilla, radiated, and it become big, and they attack Tokyo, and that's a basic storyline. But uh,
Radiation monsters.
yeah, and but when it released in America, they cut that radiation related part. So
Really?
yeah, for American audience, it didn't make sense at all. So
No,
movie was
why? That's weird.
because at that time it's not now. In 21st century, America is much more kind of sense, much more aware of that kind of thing. But at that time, America before 60s, so American government wanted to hide that, and actually they did it. So
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, such kind of thing often happens. Yeah, and the new Godzilla will be remaked in Hollywood. Yeah, maybe this
Ooh,
summer or something. Yeah,
interesting. That would be
yeah,
cool to see.
yeah.
Hopefully
Maybe
with all of the parts.
yeah. I hope so.
And I think censorship is an interesting topic because, um, well, censorship, I think, usually makes people kind of uncomfortable. And oh, I think most Americans believe that there's not any censorship anymore. But
Mm,
I think there's more censorship going on than we probably know. What do you
yeah,
think?
I think so. Kind of manipulation, hidden control. It's still
Yeah,
exists in our society.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there censorship in Japan as well?
In terms of political or social things, no censorship. However, Japanese mass media, well, how can I say, mass media created a kind of how can I say, I forgot the word, the
A
cocktail-like group,
cocktail?
cocktail-like group called Press Club. Sorry, not cocktail, cartel,
Huh?
cartel-like club. Cartel is nowadays is illegal. Kind of corporation group, exclusive
Oh, a
car
cartel. Ah,
cartel. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So they made a group called Press Club. So that means mass media dominates access to press conference. So foreign media and independent journalists cannot attend press conference.
Huh.
So Japanese mass media controls the information.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see.
So here almost top news in the major newspapers are almost same topic and almost same opinion, tone of opinion. It's one
Hmm.
big difference from American media. I don't like Fox News, but Fox News and Washington Post, New York Times, their opinion are kind of diverse. But
Hmm.
it's less happening in Japanese media. So
Interesting.
before the internet, people didn't know that at all because if the mass media didn't report that, nobody knows. But after the internet, many people began to know that.
The internet
So
has changed
yeah,
everything.
yeah. So it is changing now, but it's not. It's still mass media rely on that exclusive group to exclusive access to news conference
Mm,
information.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that the internet, it's so involved in our everyday
Mm,
life, but really
mm,
the internet has only been popular for what, like 10, 15 years is when it's been popular?
mm,
It's existed for maybe what, 20, 25 years, something like
mm.
that?
Right. So yeah, so now I'm thinking maybe when the television started, uh, people don't notice the television is a kind of the power of television. But now television has a lot of regulation, and
Hmm.
you know because the maybe the I heard in the sociology class at the Vietnam War era, you know, American Army and all sources don't know the power of television, so the reporters report relatively free from front line. So sometimes live from the front line broadcasted in American families. So people are
Wow.
shocked.
Yeah.
So a huge anti Vietnam War demonstration started. So after that, the Gulf War or Iraq War, Afghanistan, we cannot show the actual image, what is happening on the ground because of the regulation.
Yeah.
So, so I, I'm, I think maybe probably it might happen in the internet as well. Internet now is
Could
relatively
be.
free, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure in the future.
It would be hard to tame the internet though, because the internet is a little different. TV, there's
Mm,
only so many stations, and each
right.
station has like a contract, right? They have
Yeah.
to provide this kind
Mm,
of information
right.
and, show movies or whatever else. But the internet is interesting because it's more free. There's no limit on the
Mhm.
number of sites in the
Right.
world, and it's hard to oversee
Yeah.
everything that's happening on the internet.
Do you know the reason why this kind of centralized system was used in the internet?
Mm-mm. Why?
Okay. Yeah. Actually, this is also from the sociologist, and it's on Wikipedia too. Internet was started as an American Army's network of WARPnet or something. So, if the network has center, it's easy to break. If you attack center, all network broke. So American
Interesting.
Army intentionally made such a centerless network, and they are
Wow.
used inside the military only. But uh, I don't know I don't know when, but they released this system network for public on public. That's the origin of internet. That's why
Wow.
internet doesn't have center, clear center.
That is pretty cool. That's interesting. I never knew that. A lot of
Yeah.
things are created that way. They're made for one purpose and then used for something else. They get reused in
Mm,
other ways.
yeah, humor is very creative in that sense. Yeah.
Totally.
Mm,
Totally. Do you have any ideas, predictions for the future, how we'll continue to create and change?
mhm. Yes, I think it is happening. I think kind of that's the power of imagination of creation. Yeah, kind of. That's one difference between human and animals. Some animals can accumulate and their knowledge and they can create new things, but human is more creative, or human has a letters or uh, you know such kind of thing, or a word language, so we can accumulate our knowledge to generation from generation to generation. That's why human became a huge power on this planet. I guess.
Definitely.
Mm,
I agree, yeah. Especially now that we have all these tools to help us.
mm,
Things are rarely lost anymore, you know.
mm,
History could be changed a little bit and old ideas are gone, but now that we have everything documented, it's really
mm,
would be very difficult to lose. There's still censorship, but
mm,
most of the information is kind of worldly known. Everything is globalized now.
right. So
Do you think
yeah,
globalization is a positive force or a negative force?
both, you know. I think most things has a good side and positive side and negative side. Positive
True.
side is, like this class. Nowadays we can attend the class very kind of whenever I want. And if I go to the Japanese English school, I can meet a teacher and Japanese students only. So I cannot be accustomed with get accustomed with foreign accented English. So not maybe
Yeah,
I can be familiar
definitely.
with native speakers English, but so this kind of classroom is pretty effective for me to learn the kind of variety of English, which is yeah.
It's a different experience for sure,
Mhm.
and in many good ways.
Yes, I think so. That's the
And
one.
of course,
Mhm.
person to person, face to face
Mhm.
contact is still very nice, also.
Yeah, kind of human touch. Yeah, such kind of thing is also nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a lot of talk or fear for the future generations that they're just
Mm,
going to spend their whole lives online,
mm,
learn online and work
mm,
online and play
mhm,
online and
mm,
contact people online, friends online, only
mm,
online. You think there's a danger of
mm.
that?
Mm, I was pretty addicted on TV when I was a kid. So at that time, people are very afraid of the influence of TV in humans' mind. Somewhat true, maybe, to my mind. Now I'm regretted, and maybe I should have less watching TV and did some different activities. But we cannot reverse the time. Now we have a technology called internet or gadgets. So, but it's just a tool. So how to use these gadgets or network is up to us. So mm,
Mhm.
probably, yeah. But for kids, maybe it's difficult to handle actually because they're very their curiosity are huge. That's what
Mhm.
that's the strength of kids actually. So
Yeah.
they just yeah. Maybe I learned the computer in the classroom at the beginning how to control it, but the current nowadays pe- pe- kids don't learn how to use computer or gadgets. They just touch touch and learn by
Yeah.
themselves. So,
They already basically know because
mm,
it's so common. It's like they learn in their everyday lives. Definitely.
right. So maybe I think it will give some impact to their activities or their mentality in the future and even
Mhm.
now. But we cannot reverse the time, so
Yeah, we have to hope for the best because there's no undoing what we've already done.
yeah. So because I cannot criticize current kids because I was the heavily how can I say addicted TV kids on TV, so I know what they are feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
as an adult, importance is to keep balance, to yeah,
Mhm.
to get
Yeah,
balanced
that is
life.
key for
Yeah.
sure. All right. So, we're almost out of time. Thank you for coming to talk with me for a little bit. We had a private class here today. I have
Thank you
one more
very
class
much.
coming up in a couple minutes, and I hope to see you again soon.
Okay,
Bye,
thank you very
Hakan.
much. See you. Bye.